Welcome to another weekly featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact and your host, James Moffat, where he will gracefully take our featured guest on a personal and business journey and stories that will inspire, educate, and engage you.
Hello and welcome to another Friday Featured Business brought to you by Visibility Impact and your host, myself, James Moffat. Today we have our 131st guest. Wow. So we've been going just over 3.5 years now. So our guest is actually all the way from New Zealand, and you're going to learn all about her and what she does all the way from her childhood to what she's doing now. So without further ado, Joydah, I'm going to introduce you. I'm going to let you introduce yourself and your name, because I'm going to screw that up big time. So over to you. Introduce your name and then we'll get going.
Kia ora. 𝗙𝗘𝗔𝗧𝗨𝗥𝗘𝗏 𝗙𝗘𝗘𝗏 𝗬𝗘𝗘𝗞 𝗙𝗘𝗔𝗥. Kia ora, my name is Joydah. I am from the land of 𝗪𝗘𝗘𝗞, and now the colonized name of it is Philippines. We are the First Nations on the north. They call us the flat-footed Highlanders. We hid from the Spaniards, and they never got us on the top of the mountains because we're just that quick and fast going up the hill. So I grew up in that village called 𝗘𝗘𝗏, and I was raised by my grandmother. Everything that I know now is because of her.
Excellent. So thank you for introducing yourself. I know, I know with many guests, because we take them through their childhood to where they are now, it can be quite an emotional ride. So yeah, just hang in there, because you have a magical story to share and we all want to know it. So I know you're a singer-songwriter and you have your own YouTube channel, and you do a lot for humanity and particularly for children. And I know you have some fantastic songs because I've been listening to them, right? And I don't know if you want to kick off with a song, if you're ready for a song to kind of put you at ease and sing a song, or if you want to go straight into kind of the show and we'll learn more about you and your childhood. So this is for you, so just let me know what you're comfortable with.
Yes, so part of what I do is to introduce who I am. And the emotion that comes is raw. It's not that I'm going to cry, but it is a strong emotion that I know how to hold. So to respect what I'm saying, who I am, I want to just finish that. So there's a teaching that is really missing in this modern world. And it's called deep listening. And not just responding to something because it's uncomfortable. So I want to finish who I am in this sense. And when I know I can sing, and I will sing, it will come. So I want to honor my ancestors here at this time, that they're always here with me. I want to honor your ancestor. I want to honor each and every one here in this space, and the ones that are going to connect in this call, to make sure that to hold that space even just for a minute, just like you hold your breath in between. There's a pause to just sit with it. It doesn't have to be filled with words. Because in the silence, there's a lot of things that are going on. And when we're ready to voice it, we hold that emotion and we sing it, we speak it. So I just want to honor that part in that space here and now. I am here, fully here to connect with you and the ones that are going to be drawn in, whether this timeline or the next generation that will find this video. And I want to honor each and every one of you who chose to be here. So that's my introduction. Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful introduction. And I hear where you're coming from. I mean, these shows, like as we mentioned prior to the show, are to inspire, educate, and to bring hope to people. And yes, it doesn't mean that they have to be live on this show now. I mean, the recording and the memorabilia of that can continue as long as we want it to go. And it's about hearing the stories and about connecting, exactly what you said, connecting with who we truly are and not what society wants us to be. And yeah, through our magical stories and sharing stories, we actually bring that out in the best of each other, because at the end of the day, this is the essence of us, not kind of the 9-to-5 materialistic world that we live in. That is not who we are, although that's the world that we're currently in, although that will change. So let's just take you, I mean, I love what you're saying already. So let's just see where this goes, because we want to keep this kind of free flowing and just go with the flow and discover more about you. So then you mentioned about your childhood and growing up with your grandma and stuff. So can you tell us a little bit more about your childhood? What was your childhood like? And then we can move from that forward.
Yeah. So at the age of 4 months, my mom left for a greater pasture to be here in New Zealand, actually. And so I was left with my grandmother. I think for me, the reason why I'm really connected to the nature, it's because I live the village life. I'm living the indigenous way, whether that be just, going back to the land, being in touch with the cycles of the moon, of the water, of all these things that are the law of nature, and so that's been really instilled in me at a very young age. And just walking with my grandmother to our field and to sow the seeds from taking care of the plant to harvesting and keeping them for rainy seasons, and so there's so many layers that I've unpacked. Actually, now that I'm looking back, going, those things that I spent so much time are the things that we need today. So basically, my childhood is a lot to do with nature, a lot to do with the simplicity. We didn't have groceries. We didn't have. It's all trading. You trade your rice for sugar. We trade our animal fat for all these things. So for vegetables. So yeah, I grew up in that environment, and then in that as well, within that culture, I was also abused at the age of 6 years old, and that was part of my journey as I went along. And so it's not always like green and love and light and everything. There's a bit of that, and and it was by my own family. And I think there's a lot of this thing happening. It's been happening within culture as well. So I'm just giving that light as well, and school for me was never something that I've always, they call it, now I know it's dyslexia. it's something that I'm very connected to, the systematic way, you know, wearing uniform, wearing anything like this. It's my whole body just rejects that thing, you know, and I thought I was the weird one and the crazy one. From, you know, being here and now, I had to find a way. It was a heavily Christianized village as well. The foundation is either you're a Baptist or you're Catholic. So I grew up in Catholicism. Funny enough, my grandmother was okay. Thus, were with me being a different person. Like, I don't call myself gay or lesbian or anything, but I was very different. You know, like, I didn't really cut out to be, you know, get married at 18 and, you know, basically be a wife and just stay home and, you know, tend for the kids, which is that's like the cycle there. And my mother broke that cycle, you know, unknowingly, because she had us at a very young age out of a wedlock. So I guess that's part of my little childhood, and came to New Zealand when I was 16. So I was basically, you know, really rooted in all this village life, the Indigenous way, and then at the same time I have all this other journey within that. Yeah, that's sort of, I can keep going, but that's sort of like the gist of it.
So the Indigenous way, I mean, a lot of people now are fascinated about that and to understand it more, because I think the more that we start to discover ourselves, the more kind of the Indigenous, the true way kind of comes out in us, we want to explore. And what you mentioned also about kind of the way that you barter and you trade with each other, that is becoming more relevant today, because if you see there's a lot more kind of startups and things that are starting, and it's about trading, and it's about natural products and about giving back, sustainability, circular economy, how you can reuse things and repurpose them and not create all of this waste. And because we've been kind of indoctrinated with a system of convenience, and go to the convenience like supermarket that, oh, well, we have a cinema there as well, we have a bowling, we have all of these things that you could ever desire, and you can drive there in your car and not get wet. And we've looked at that as, oh, that's great, that's easy, and there's a McDonald's there and everything else, that we could spend a whole day there. But that is not really who we are. And people are starting to wake up and realize that, and they're starting to create their own businesses, the more natural products, and they want to kind of trade with others that are doing the same. And it doesn't have to be money anymore. It could be trade in services and gifts in that respect. And I think now, particularly over the last 3 years, sorry to like kind of steal a bit of the show, but I mean, over the last 3 years in particular, people are starting to realize that they don't want what's out there anymore. They want something that is more natural. And you see it every day. And it is kind of bringing these people together, because this is the way forward. I mean, it doesn't have to be primitive, but it can still be a way that we're giving and sharing with one another. And yeah, I love kind of what you said. But also with schooling, I mean, I never felt that I fitted in at school, and I was subject to multiple different religions growing up, and you got to a point that I didn't believe in religion, but I believed in a greater source. And that is kind of the path that I went on my own, because everybody was kind of pushing me to a church or a synagogue or something else. Because on my mum's side, she came from a Jewish background, but then we grew up in kind of the Church of Scotland and in a Protestant kind of Christian way. So lots of different changes happened, but I never believed in all the stuff that was kind of spelled out. I believed in that everybody should connect with themselves, and then you're connecting with the higher good. But anyway, enough about me. So I just, yeah, you mentioned also, you'll feel when you're ready to sing and play. So yeah, let me know when that time is ready, because I'm very eager to hear you sing and play.
Okay.
Are you ready for that?
Do you have another question?
Another question. Things that you enjoyed. I mean, you talked about school and you didn't fit in, and you talked about, I mean, kind of working. I mean, I look at my kids and I think, I mean, their twins are 7, a boy and a girl, and my eldest son is 10. And just trying to get them to do things around the house is hard. And yeah, I love it in a way that this was kind of, everybody had to pull their weight and actually do something. To me, it's not child or slave labor. It's about them being responsible for doing something. And we all have to muddle in together. So I think doing that at a young age, I'm not saying like go out and like kill yourself, like working as a kid and neglecting everything else, but it is about kind of a fair kind of sharing of responsibilities, right? You don't have to say, well, I'm 18 now, I can go and work on the land or whatever it is. Well, hang on a minute. Well, what have you been doing since then? You know, playing video games. But anyway, so yeah, another question, the kind of things that you liked doing then. So as a kid, I mean, what were your passions and kind of hobbies or things that really excited you?
I guess when I was a kid, I loved the fact that I can go to the land and dig the garden and find a sweet potato that I've, planted a few months back. And it's always been my connection. I didn't realize that when I moved here, I got a bit displaced here in Aotearoa because it was so different. And when I touched the ground and I started having my own garden, it made me really feel home. And that's when I know that everywhere I go back to the earth and say hello to the earth. Actually, not the hello. Hello is for me as oh hell. And that's like it's just my thing. So I call it, it's my, how I introduce myself. Now that I've realized when I went to Australia, I was taught to introduce myself to the land, and that the connection, I was like, this is why I love just going to a community garden or just holding the soil and saying, my name is, and this is where I'm, my intention. That's something that we did in Australia, and that really made me cry so much because there's so much wounding as well from people, and yeah, especially if you're really in tune with it. I know that that when you do the body work and you do energy work, I think you have this feeling when you touch the earth, because it is her body, so it is one of the things, I didn't really, I used to love running, but part of, that's the only one I love when I was at school, is to do like the physical fitness thing, running and basketball. But apart from that, it's always about going back to the nature, creating my own toys from a bark or something. So it's really like a simple, basic hobbies, and so yeah, and so that's why I find it to be fascinated with sports, because it creates, there's so many things that I can talk about sports, and the only thing that I really connected with sport was basketball in terms of team playing and development. But apart from that, I find it to be very I have my own little perspective on that, and I know it's helpful for kids, and at the same time, where does it came from? How did it start? Anyway, I can keep going back on that one. But yeah, hobbies. I love cooking. That's part of my my work, is I teach cooking as well. Seasonal cooking.
Yeah, I love it, because if I think I admire kind of what you do with the ground and the soil, because the ground gives us the food that we eat. So it's a bit of a respect towards kind of where it comes from. And then also I mean, we do with the kids as well. They get seeds and they propagate them in kind of little containers first, and then we go and plant them in the garden. And when you grow something and you see it grow, I mean, you normally to just take it for granted, but when you actually see it and every day and they're watering and then they can see something growing there, then it's that fascination. And then when you eat something that you produced, even better, because you respect the time and effort that has gone into nurturing this to actually have a product at the end of it. So it's beautiful. And yeah, so you've got your guitar, so you ready?
Well, to tell you the truth, I always get nervous, you know, all the time.
Well, we'll sing along.
I just do it, even though I'm not ready. I'll just do it, you know. Finding peace in the chaos of emotions. Leaves me in a vulnerable state. The more or it becomes clear. Shadow starts to disappear. Oh, my ego's gasping for it. What's left of it is the knowing. Trust the process. Be patient. Remain close to Great Spirit. Cry, oh cry, cry, cry. Your mercy. Look after your brother. Keep it moving. Free your mind. Cause your heart knows the way. Yeah, your heart knows the way. Always. Always. Find realization in the midst of my healing. It gives me hope. So I'll keep on. Remembering back on this radical way. Process. Oh, Great Spirit. I pray you tell trust the process, stay patient. Ooh, trust the process, stay patient.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
It was very beautiful. There was a bit of a sound problem though. I mean, it was coming and going, which was a great pity because it started off so beautiful. And then there was kind of gaps in there that just couldn't hear anything. And then it came back again and then it disappeared. And then actually,
that's okay.
Well, I mean, I didn't want to interrupt because I could see the passion in what you were doing, and I didn't want to break that. But I mean,
thank you. I trust it, and trust it. And sometimes there's a frequency, and it's not the first time that I sang on phones, and even when I sing, there's always something that breaks. And I don't know if the capacity of thing, maybe, they have high-end technology, but it really, for me, it really shows sometimes, we are the most sophisticated technology. We are the ancient and the future technology. And so we must remember that, anything that's outside, which is AI, and also in terms of the glitch and whatnot, I see it as part of the whole thing. It's not bad or wrong. It's just part of the whole thing. And all is well in terms of like trying to make it sound nice. And this, that's part of the way I'm trying to release songs, because there's a part of me that wants to make sure that everything's sounding great, but there's a part of me that just wants to keep it raw. Because I feel that this time and age, there's so much auto tuning, there's so much other things that goes into the frequency of the sound. What if we go back to the natural way and use instruments that are actually from the earth, from the trees, from the shells? Those are healing vibrations. So sometimes I don't even think phones can really capture the most potent medicine that we can bring and anyone who has the ability to share it in this tone. And so, yeah, I find it to be, you know, sometimes like, yeah, I'm moving away from that, like that feeling of, oh, I want to do it again to be perfect, or to make sure that it sounds really, if that person wants to know more and hear more about this song, it's online, you know, and the energy of it is online, is here as you are watching it. If you're watching this and you're like, oh, I want to hear the rest of the song, there's a song somewhere in YouTube. Yeah. And every time I sing a song, I don't just sing it, I really mean it. So the energy of that will be similar to what I've shared to you now.
That's why I didn't want to interrupt, because I could see, I could feel the energy. I mean, I didn't have to hear the words to connect with the emotion that I felt in what you were singing. And for the words that I did capture, they were magical anyway. But just going back to what you said about kind of sometimes there's a glitch in what we do. I mean, things that we assume or we want to be perfect, sometimes by not being perfect is actually perfect. Right? If you understand what I mean. Because, I mean, I did some public speaking, and yeah, I had to overcome a fear of doing it. And I really didn't want to do it. And the fear of a month preparing, I mean, to do 5 minutes on the stage created me so much anxiety and fear. But then once I did it, it wasn't perfect by a long way, but it was perfect to me, to what I needed to accomplish, was to share my story and overcome that fear. And I did that. Now, I didn't win. I wasn't perfect. But if I was too perfect and I had won, then because it was a competition, if I had, then would it have actually achieved what I wanted it to achieve? And probably not. So, like, as you say, sometimes that glitch is actually perfect, because that glitch is creating the essence of what you really needed to achieve. And the universe has seen that, and it's made it like that. And you might have gone away being different if it was any other way. And that way was actually the best way it could possibly have been.
Yeah. It's part of the flow.
It is. So anyway, let's learn more about you. So growing up as a child and then your education and stuff. So where did you finish? I mean, like schooling and stuff, and what did you want to do or have a desire for doing that kind of led you on your next part of your journey?
Well, that's the interesting part, because, you know, I finished my, you know, the elementary, they call it elementary still. I mean, that was my era. And then I went to the city for high school. And then I was, you know, successfully failing all the class, because it's just math and English. Actually, I was actually good at English, but I just didn't really continue. Sitting down in a class all day is not what I did. Not my, you know, it's just, it doesn't sit with me. So I was that teenager who just kind of like dropped out, because I didn't feel the need to be part of, you know, the hierarchy of who's got the highest average, or, you know, went beyond the average. It just didn't really resonate with me. My sister was like acing everything. Well, here I am, just like, I was doing the opposite. At the same time, my sister was pleasing my family, and I wasn't doing that. So there was that. Yeah, she was acing everything, but she was also very, you know, she's her own captive within herself. But I wasn't doing. I was the one wagging school, doing what I want to do, drinking, smoking like a teenager does, and just learning the street life. But I felt so free. So, like I said, at a very young age, I didn't really feel like I had to conform or to be part of this thing. And I dropped out not long after third year. My mother had to pay, you know, some teachers to give me a good grades, even just to get me through, but it wasn't working for me. And so by the time I turned 16, I moved here in Aotearoa. They enrolled me again here, and it was totally a different system. It was worse. So I got to know the Pacific Islander people who is also wagging school and hang out with them. At the same time, I feel like I was done with smoking and drinking, so I didn't really stay too long at school. So I worked right away. I think it really led me to, I wasn't trying to be a rebel. It just didn't really stick to me. What they're trying to tell me, the systematic way. It's just, I feel like it was falling. Everything that's trying to like stick on me, it just doesn't really go. And I didn't know much about other work, so I went straight to being kitchen hand, which is one of the best best job I've had, because I feel very, I feel like just being a kitchen hand makes me feel like I'm doing so much work, even though I'm just in the back. Like that's the way I feel, in terms of like, I'd rather be behind the scenes doing a lot of work, making sure that things go out there, and and without me being unseen. So that's kind of like how I rolled. And I didn't really have that, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a nurse, I'm going to be that, which is probably one of the things that are expected of us when we're growing up. And nothing. I didn't have like, oh, this is what I want. Nothing. It just kind of, but I had one thing that was really strong, is I knew I had a voice, and I didn't know what to do with it. And one thing about music, especially when you're in Philippines, it's those, you're always going to be broke because you're a musician. My dad is a musician as well. He left to do that for his life. And I also said, I don't want to do that because it's my dad. I had daddy issues, and then I'm the only one who picked up the guitar of all his 13, 14 kids from the outside relationship, apart from my mom. So when I knew I can sing, it's like, I didn't know what to do with it. And I felt sad because I didn't know what to do with it. But yeah, I just kind of winged my life through, really. I didn't know what I was doing, because I was also, at the same time, my sexuality or who I am wasn't really fully integrated within me. So I had body issues, I had body image, loving myself was like, everything. I was 100 kgs. I don't know what's that in, but I knew that when I came here, it was a lot to do with, I didn't know who I was. And I had to go through that cycle, and going and having to still, I was still running on a template of a Western society's, Western society's expectation, like marry a white person and all that stuff. You make it to when you have this job, all that stuff. I was still doing that. I was working 14 hours a day, because that's part of being, in the system. But I also was crying deep inside myself, because I didn't know what else to do in this land. And then I met the indigenous people here, the Maori people, and that's when I felt there's hope for me. I connected it with them more, and so it was a big journey to really find myself, find this voice. And I've had a very long sort of relationship that I guess we grew in that relationship, and we grow out of it. And I just came out and I'm like, oh my God, all of a sudden I'm 30. I'm late. I'm too late for this thing. I'm too late for this life. I don't think I'm going to be accepted for music. And I realized those are all templates from, from here in this kind of matrix, in this mainstream things. I realized that you can start whenever you want. That's all the things that are just like, oh, fuck, I don't really need to do this because I'm, so I'm in that space, and now here I am talking to you. I'm just like I don't know how I got here, but I know who I am. I'm being honest all the time. I'm trying to be really, I'm walking as I am. I'm not trying to pretend and wear a mask when I'm talking to you. No, I'm the same thing. After this call, I'm going to be that same person, And so that's why I feel, when you said, how are you changing the world? I'm not. I'm healing myself so I can heal others. For me first, can I show up? I can't show up if I'm not even doing anything for me. Yeah.
Beautiful. What you've said resonates a lot. I mean, you're actually way advanced of most people. Most people, just going back, are indoctrinated as soon as they're born into a system that is not who we are. And we struggle with that. I mean, I struggled with that at school. I know my parents struggled with that, and probably their grandparents, and as far back as you could possibly go, an indoctrination. And then now with my 3 kids, I see the same. And I think someone has got to break this mold, because I don't want their kids to then have it, and then their kids, and we just carry on. If we are not prepared to change it now in our lifetime, then I fear for what the kids and their kids are going to experience. This is not who we are. We are not here. I mean, I've had the same. I was a daydreamer at school because I found it more interesting exploring my own imagination and looking out the window than sitting in the classroom being told something that I didn't want to hear. It just didn't fit with me. And yeah, I wanted to be somewhere else. And I didn't care about my results at school. But society seemed to care more than I did, right? Well, you amount to nothing, right? James is a daydreamer. If he concentrated more, he could achieve so much more. But then surely then the system needs to question, why am I daydreaming? Right? Obviously there's something wrong with the class. And yeah, I mean, we've had lots of educators on this show, and they say it's the same. The educational system does not work. I mean, it breeds people that have no idea who they are. I mean, sorry to digress a bit, but I asked 3 fundamental questions. A child will ask, what do they want to be when they grow up? I mean, you typically ask when I'm a kid, what will I be when I grow up? My kids ask me, Daddy, what will I be when I grow up? I said, well, it's not me to tell you what. You have to find that yourself. And there's never a right time or a wrong time. So if you haven't found it, then there's a midlife kind of crisis time where you ask, what's it all about? And if you still haven't found it, then you go on to kind of retire and you ask, well, what's next? And there's another one after that on your deathbed. You can ask, well, did my life actually matter? And we're all here for a purpose, yet only a small percentage of the population will ever find that purpose. And I think for the fact that you found it and you're living that, yeah, it's admirable. And if you think, 99% of the population will never get to where you are, and that's sad because of the indoctrination. You saw it at the beginning. I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to be part of it. It is a matrix. It is a brainwashing indoctrination. And as you said, I mean, I have lots of friends that went to university, did their masters, their PhDs, their postdocs. They've got all of these letters after their name, and they think they're the best thing ever. But they haven't got what they were looking for. They don't know who they are. And at some time, that'll come back and bite them. And I would rather not have these titles. I mean, it's just a name at the end of the day. You are who you want to be. And everything's about giving and sharing and helping humanity grow. But anyway, enough of that. So I just want to go more into your story now. So how was the relationship? You mentioned you have a sister. Do you have any other siblings?
Yep, I have a brother and I have a sister, and I have 11 others,
Wow.
which are my siblings from my dad. Yeah, so my dad has had a few relationships. So I'm close to my brother and my sister. So I'm the youngest of the family, and yeah, it's my relationship with my siblings are different. You know, my sister, I can talk to her about what I'm doing, and she knows a lot about what's going on in terms of the, you know, all the things that's happening in this world right now. You know, the illusion, the dissolution, as well. And she understands. My brother is more of, you know, the one that really shut the door on me during the COVID, because I chose not to be vaccinated, and thinking he's doing the right thing, which I totally respected. It also brought a lot of my own rejection issues with family, which I totally got painfully, but also it really made me feel a lot more stronger to really go into myself about what made me feel this way. So that relationship has grown more stronger, and loving who they are, where they are, no matter what they choose to do, to make sure that I'm honoring that they're the siblings that I have in this lifetime, and that we grew up together in this village and we grew up with my grandmother. So I always have that beautiful memories of us before all this corruption in the mind and colonizations in our, you know, within ourselves happened. And at the end of the day, we love each other, and we do respect where we are and what we choose to do. So yeah, I do think that COVID things that happened, because a lot of things have surfaced for me to really see who are what the true colors are, and who am I really dealing with here, whether that be my sibling or my friends or family. And yeah, at the end of the day, they're just trying. They didn't there's that the word. They just don't know. You know, it's just where they're at, and you can't force them to look at the perspective that you're looking at. Rather, have that compassion and love and forgiveness with me, and at the same time to hold space. You know. So yeah, that's a lot of learning. I mean, it's not an easy path to have this path that I'm on, and I'm sure a lot of people can, you know, resonate when you're trying to just work on the matrix or in the mainstream world, where you know, you got to pay for rent every week and all that stuff, and the things that, you know, it's really a lot to do with it has a lot to do with the navigation and being in harmony and being okay with, you know, the quick shifts, and yeah, just trusting a lot of this process and whatever's happening. You just got to keep moving. Yeah. I think Jaya is leaving.
Yeah, she has to go in a few minutes, but she can catch up with the rest of the recording.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. It's been really been lovely, and thank you, Joydah. I've really enjoyed meeting you.
Thank you, Jaya.
Yeah, and hearing your story.
Yeah, really appreciate you. Thank you so much, Jaya.
Yeah,
wishing you all a great day and a beautiful weekend.
Yeah, I'll help connect everybody, right? So you can stay in touch if you wish.
Okay, thanks a lot, and nice to see you, Monica.
Yes, Jaya, I just wanted to know what your passion is. If that is shortly in one sentence, would that be okay? Could you tell me?
I don't know, because James is interviewing the Joydah.
No, this is fine. You can just before you shoot up, because Monica joined late, so she didn't get to hear what you said.
Yeah. I work with connecting mind and body, body and heart, and I'm a body worker, and I'm also a coach. So yeah, and I live in Beale.
Oh, bien. Okay, good. Wonderful. So we share a passion.
Yeah, we do indeed.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jaya.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, and bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Jaya. Right. Okay. So just going back to, educated people. I mean, they might be educated, but they can be ignorant as well. Right. So I over the last 3+ years, right, it's been a massive wake-up call for a lot of people. I mean, some obviously were awake way before that and could see this coming. Others woke up during this. But seeing, I mean, I looked at things and I started questioning, why is this happening? Why is it like this? Why is that? Why? And so many questions that I had that people didn't have the answers, or they just said, shut up and get on with it. I mean, it is what it is, right? And so I lost a lot of friends. I lost family members in the way that they didn't see things how I saw them. And then you kind of go through different stages. You go through the anger that, why don't people see what I see? Are they so stupid? But then you got the pushback, then why do you see it like that? And yet the masses don't. Like, you're the odd one out, you're the freak, you're the weirdo, you're the this, that, and the other. And I thought, right, I'd rather be that and believe in myself and what was true to me. And so you go through kind of this anger and hatred and disillusioned with everything and think, am I the odd one? Am I the weirdo? But then you find other people feeling exactly the same. And then you feel that connection, that bond with them. And I think they're saying and feeling exactly how I do, right? So I can't be that weird, can I? Or are we all just weird? But that's another question. Right? So, but anyway, at the end of it, as I said, you go through different stages. Then you kind of, like, as you said, you forgive. It's their life. It's the way that they feel. It's when they're ready. Some people will never be ready to accept what's going on, and they're happy to live in their bubble and the matrix system as it is, and they'll never understand that there is anything else, because the indoctrination has been so powerful, as I said, from the day you're born. Yeah, Monica? Sorry, you're on mute.
I would love to just add that maybe we should be careful with saying never, because I know countless examples when people after 80-something years suddenly change totally and open up. That's, for example, my father, when he was narcissistic and extremely, hurtful and violent with every person around him. Suddenly, at the age of 83, 82, he totally changes. And suddenly I hear him say to my daughter, I love you. And I've never heard these, words before, ever. So I would give every single person a tiny bit of chance and would not say never.
Yeah. Sometimes you consider words that you didn't actually mean to say like that. But I mean, everybody changes. I mean, I would say, I mean, as I grew up, I changed considerably as well. I mean, I was the rebel, but I felt the rebel, and I had a course, but I didn't know where I was going. So I was just a rebel and a reaction on the situations that I was in, but I had no direction. And I think that this is one of the biggest challenges that all children face, is most of them do not have a direction in their life. They don't know where they're going, or they're pushed in a direction that isn't necessarily their choice, as in to go to school to get that education, to become the doctor, the pilot, the engineer, or whatever it is, because this is what society expects and their parents expect. And when you do something different, I don't want that. Oh, you'll amount to nothing and you'll be the road sweeper and stuff like that. Well, maybe I'll have more fun being the road sweeper. At least I'm doing something that's purposeful. Right. So anyway, Monica, you had something?
There's one thing from my daughter. She's 9.5, so she's in the 3rd class here in Switzerland. And they talked about, that was very recent, like 2 weeks ago, talked about what you want to be when you grow up. And she knows. She told me 2 years ago, Mom, I want to be a singer. Although I think she dances amazingly, but no, I want to be a singer, Mama. And then she says, so I said that I want to be a singer, and the teacher says maybe we all should have a plan B. And then she says to me, Mama, and you know what I thought? Imagine some people would have a plan Z.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I mean, my children, I mean, what we do everything through storytelling. That I help understand their struggles and their challenges, their emotions through bedtime storytelling. And we use that to cure lots of trapped emotions and a great way forward. But anyway, Joydah, back to you. So you mentioned about your father was a musician, and you saw that, I mean, the guitar. So how did you, because you felt you had the voice, and did you have singing lessons? Where did the voice come from? And also the guitar. I mean, at what point did you decide that to pick up the guitar, or think the guitar is kind of your instrument? And is it just the guitar, or there are other instruments as well?
So, well, yeah, I mentioned about my dad. I've always known that he's a musician, and the time that I knew I can sing is I keep winning all this I was put in a pageant when I was 6 or 7, and I keep winning it every year because I keep it's the song, and I said, okay, well, I guess. So it's not because I knew I could sing. It's just, you know, when I sing, it has that little vibration, and I was like, oh, this everyone has that, you know. I started. I didn't have any lessons. I didn't have any lessons at all. I actually kept my voice silent for a long time. I was more of a introvert than the extrovert, believe it or not, doing things all over the show. But my auntie's partner, who died very early on, when I was young, he taught me how to play the guitar. He was a musician too, and he gave me a couple of chords to play with, and I went with that and just started playing with it. And no one taught me how to really go further than, you know, the basic thing. So I was happy with the basic chords, and everything else I just learned. You know, it's just like I knew a few drum beats, but I didn't go deeper into it. That's how short is my attention span when it comes to learning. Like, I just need 4 chords. I just need to know this, and I drum, and that's all. And yeah, it's like, oh, I'm gonna use guitar. It's just the first thing I picked up was the guitar, and it was the only thing that was a lot.
Can I just jump in and ask what the 4 chords are? Because I learned kind of at school the guitar, and I learned kind of 4 chords as well, and that's all I ever remembered.
Yeah, just the G, C, D, and E. I think everything that's easy for my brain to remember.
Yeah, I learned kind of G7, I think it was called, C, which was an easy one,
yeah.
E and A, or A minor or something. Is it?
I feel like especially our children, just give them a couple of chords and then let them have it for the day, and you'll see that they will remember. That's what I do to he's 7. I have my son, he's 7, and he's I just taught him the G this week. That's it.
Right. Okay, so actually I didn't ask about children. So you've just mentioned that you've got a son, right? This is, you have more children, or is just one child?
Yeah, at the moment.
But you'd like,
never.
All right. So you'd like more?
Well, it is the spirit, if it wants to come back to me,
right, okay,
and to be birthed through me.
Right,
and
okay.
I call it's a connection of, you know, choosing it's both, you know. Am I ready? That's a question for me. And
yeah, so you didn't. You mentioned earlier that, I mean, you didn't want kind of that traditional family, the 2.4 children, the family dog, the holidays, the marriage, and whatever. So you have a son. I mean, I know we didn't have any notes on this, but I mean, are you married? I mean, what's
it's on that 13 years with my ex-partner. I was married for 13 years. I was married for a year within that 13 years.
all right?
And we chose to have a son. Well, we didn't realize we have a son, but we chose to have a kid. And it's something that I don't like sharing too much of it, because it's something that I'd like to keep it for myself, you know. And yeah, he chose us to be his mother's biologically, not by blood, and at the same time we both came together and I guess assisted with the whole process before the conception. Is that the word?
Yes. Conception. Yeah. How deep do you want to go? Because I want to learn. I want to learn more about kind of the work that you do. So you do singing. You're a singer-songwriter, and you mentioned about teaching. So you do teaching as well.
Yeah. So it's not just I don't do teaching. It's like I do help people creative process when it comes to, like, it's either with writing their songs, or just having to go through instruments. So I did that creative process when I was in Australia. It was the first one, and it helped people, like, I guess, journal things that they've been holding on for a while, and they would really want to share it. So I do a little bit of the workshop of that, and I teach cooking as well. I do workshops with cooking, jackfruit, you know, things that I love. So I'm using every gift that I have to share in the community, and that's one of the things that I love, is I can be versatile, whether I be in the kitchen or singing, or having a circle with people, just being in the community.
Yeah, you mentioned kind of you followed a lot of indigenous kind of traditions and things. I mean, like, and you live. I mean, you live in an indigenous community at the moment, or you live elsewhere?
I lived off grid, which is, I think the indigenous community is everywhere. You know, for me, indigenous means I'm living in alignment with the nature. I'm living like holistically, doing my best to be self-sustained. You know, going back to the soil and growing your own. Actually, really meaning to be part of. Just, you know, in terms of that, I can have my fire. I can have. I can go to the river. I can go to the forest. All that stuff. You know, it's something that that people yearn, because we're, as you notice, there's more blocks and blocks of houses being built in. Well, I'm seeing it here. The old houses are being taken over by blocks of houses that is very small, and I know for sure that is, you know, I think that makes people sick, you know, in every way, because there's no grass outside. It's just the road and, you know, paves, and there's nothing to connect them back to the nature. So I chose to live a little bit out off the grid. Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that everywhere around the world, particularly cities. I mean, they're becoming this like Gotham City type thing, and metropolis in the way that high-rise buildings, the odd tree planted here and there, but other than that, nothing connecting you with nature. And this is kind of forcing as many people in tower blocks as possible. Right? This is not who we are. I've lived in the cities, and now I'm happy to be like nearer out in the countryside and nearer nature. I actually want to be even more into nature and move away from kind of communities that are too close to each other. So you can have that freedom to do what you want. And I mean, there's actually some surveys done on that. You could put the whole population of the planet into one city. All right, it'd be very cramped. But look how much land there is. They said that every man, woman, and child would have, if you just spread out the land and the people, would have, I think it was, I don't know, sometimes 4 times the size of like a football pitch each. Right? Yet we live in square boxes, in tower blocks, away from all of that. But anyway, let's just get on. I'm just curious because, I mean, you talk a lot about like providing hope and inspiring people. And I mean, are you also practicing kind of indigenous or healing work or spiritual work or with people through singing, through dance, through meditation, can you share a bit more about that? Because I've seen also with your music, I mean, it's about bringing the communities together. You're all sharing and dancing, and that connection that you're creating is really quite magical. So can you share more about that?
I'll share you a little bit. My partner is 𝗙𝗘𝗏𝗦𝗧, and she's been going into training with the traditional 𝗦𝗘𝗘𝗞 body work, which is a traditional Maori modality that they use here. So it's basically 𝗦𝗘𝗏𝗧 is about going into the layers of your body, and it's almost like unlocking the stuff inside your body, wherever the spirit is taking us, or with intuitively where it's taking us. So I don't want to explain what's the 𝗦𝗘𝗏𝗧 tradition, because I feel like I help with that with my partner, and she's the one that actually does that, and I do help with the music in that space as well. So in what I do, I use my voice, my hands to help either in the community or individually. So I guess I can't just put it in like, here's what I do. I am doing what I'm doing the best that I can, but really my first service is for myself. Otherwise I can't really do anything for others, So I always go back to that. Have I rested enough for me so I can keep going? Have I given myself that, that time for myself? Self-love, I can't, like I said, we can't go out there with all our wounds out, not even having to make sure that you're at least grounded, and I just, I feel like I don't even do it when I know I'm not in the best place. It's just one of those practices that I have, and I hold. Everything starts with a prayer and it ends with a prayer, and it's all the intentions that we want in that space, and always making sure that there's a safe space for people that comes to us, and there's an aftercare as well, not just during, because I feel everything unfolds after. When they leave the table, they go a little bit like, what the hell just happened? Mm-hmm. And all the things that come up. And so we make sure that we are there as a community, as who we are, to hold space or to guide them where they need to go next. Because I don't have all the answers. We're just here to help each other. And you have a gift, and Monica has a gift as well. And when we come together, it's like weaving it, as in whether that's in the same country or you're in, or different countries, we're doing this work collectively, energetically. So that's why I'm really grateful for everyone who that you are choosing to do this work, because you give a lot, but you got to make sure that you also don't use your reserve to just keep going. You keep giving this. That's why there's a cycle, the moon, and you need to go in when it's time to go in, and you need to, when your period, we're not allowed to work on others when we're open. I mean, with you can, as long as you're aware of your energy as a woman. So there's that dance that you have to work with. It's not just like this, in the rat race, like constantly running because you have to, even if, that's one thing I learned when I was chefing. The bleeding, I have to take so much pills to stop the pain and, all that stuff. But I realize now I have to sit at least for a day for myself. And those are the things. It's not indigenous, but it's just the cycle of life, the cycle of our death and rebirth within ourselves needs to be honored.
You're absolutely right about self-love. I mean, we look at it and think, self-love, I don't want to do that kind of thing for. But I mean, it is meaningful and deep in the way that this is an expression like, if you're on a plane, don't put on your own emergency mask before you can help others. You're on oxygen, so you can help others. So you have to look after yourself, because if you're not in a state that you can look after others, then they will see that. They will feel that you need their help more than I do. And so you need to look after yourself and be sure of yourself and believe in yourself. And a lot of the time, society doesn't enable that. We look at failure and we dwell on failure. I can't do it. I won't do it. It's too much. And rather than believing that we can, because failure is a learning, and you have to say to yourself, I can, I will do it. I am able. I can do this. And then the universe will respond and help you. If you dwell on the negative, then the universe then, well, you want more negative. I'll give you plenty of that. And it's a mindset shift. And I hear it with my kids where they say, I can't do that, Daddy. I'll say, you don't have to be the best. You don't have to do it. And when they come back and say, "Yeah, I'm not good in the football," and I say, "Are you having fun?" They say, "Yes." Well, that is what you're there for, is the fun. It doesn't mean you have to score goals and that. You are just great the way you are. And then they feel better about that. I don't go out there to force my kids to be the best at everything. Actually, I don't want them to be. They're the best in their own mind. That's all that has to happen, is that you're comfortable with yourself. So I just want to ask more about, which is I'm very curious, is about your tattoos.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I mean, you have a few, but particularly ones on your hand. Are they significant for any kind of purpose? I mean, like you see the ones on your hand there. I wonder if you could just show.
Yeah.
Right.
This is our traditional tattoo back in our village.
All right.
The whole thing. And my hand is my son's name. I am.
All right.
And that's part of, it's a journey of my own. Sometimes it's meaningful, sometimes it's symbol, which, mind wants to know what is it, but it's the feeling of what I got at that time. Some of it has been gifted to me, and some of it have, I guess it's part of the journey that I hold. And I don't think too deep to it, but it's a remembrance of something, of who I am, and the unfolding of what I've been through. So,
well, I mean, I see it more. I mean, like you said, it's like when you see kind of hieroglyphics and things. You see kind of, it's a story, it's a journey, and the tattoos resemble or they play out kind of the story of your journey. And so each one of them has a purpose or a meaning, and it's just a way to remember that. Rather than going to a cave and kind of painting inside a cave, you've got it on your body as something. I don't know. I mean, would that be more accurate?
To be honest, it's for me, the part of it started with me taking my village with me, you know, wherever. It's just every time I see it, my whole ancestors are here, you know, and I guess visually for me as well, it reminds me of who I am, and I am not my skin, but these are the parts of, you know, it just, I didn't plan to get tattooed at all. I didn't have this like, oh, I'm going to get tattooed. It was, lots of it has just been aligned to come forward and I guess divine timing of where I was at that time. So yeah.
You mentioned
like,
about, sorry, you also mentioned about, I mean, the work that you do. I mean, do you travel to do this work? I mean, outside of where you live, is it very much in person? Is it one-to-one, in groups? Do you do it alone or you do it with other people? I mean, you mentioned that.
I do this, it's called Tiny Concert. So I go to many spaces. Someone hosts me to come to their house, which I can fit 40 to 50 people. It started from the illegal gatherings from COVID's lockdowns. And it became, that became like the whole thing. And all of a sudden, yeah, I just named it Tiny Concert because I find it to be more intimate. And I get to find more that's community, that actually seeking real connection. And we already know, like I said, the bullshit went out the window when the COVID came. Like the people are just like, this is who I am. Okay, I want to come to your concert or whatever. And that part of sharing and connecting became really strong. And so every time they go, hey, I'm here in South Island. I have a space for 100 people. Would you come? And we'll just ticket that so you can make it here. And so stuff like that. So it's called Tiny Concerts. And I've just done an overseas one in Tasmania, or 𝗚𝗘𝗏𝗏 in Australia. So that was my first international one. But I've been doing it a lot here, traveling a lot. And trying to juggle that and being a mom as well, to being here, to like make them here. Speaking of that, he's probably waiting for me.
Yeah. So we're just gonna wrap up in a minute anyway. So I mean, I love your journey. So for people to reach out to you, and if they wanted to book you and to share your work, I mean, also kind of the deeper work. I don't know if you do it, but I mean, what you've said throughout the show, I mean, about connecting with yourself, about the inner work that you have to do, about the different layers within yourself that you have to explore. I mean, is this something that you also teach? Because even if you don't, you should, because this is something quite magical. And I mean, I'm constantly on that inward journey of discovery. And the more layers that you peel back, the more you start to discover things that the truth is within. You can always find the truth, right? You just have to know where to look. And most of the time, we don't know where to look, and you need a guide or someone to take you on that journey to help you. And I see from what we've said, you do that beautifully already, if you're not already doing it with others.
Yeah, I think I just don't like, I prefer not to have the teaching thing or any label of some sort. I do this because it's a journey that I go through, and people resonates and they pick something that they need out of what I'm saying or singing, and they go with it, and they come back and go, I really needed to hear that today. Things like that. But if it becomes a teacher, I think that holds a very different feel for me. Mm-hmm. I am not here to, I'm also learning, and I'm learning, and I'm going through all my shit as well. And so if we could all share our process, then the grief moves a little bit, you know, a little bit more together, and our joy as well gets amplified. Our sadness doesn't get so lonely as it, you know, and all this process goes, okay, it's okay that I'm here, you know, it's like that. So if there's anything, you know, that's why I do tiny concert, not because I'm performing, but because I'm sharing. You know, there's no performance going on here. I'm not a monkey. I'm not in here to entertain you. I'm here to be who I am, and I want you to be you, because we do fucking need more of you in this world, because that's how we keep shifting others, because they don't need to pretend to be anything but who they are already. You know, just take that mask off. It's heavy anyway. It doesn't make you breathe properly. So take it off, you know, and just speak something. It's uncomfortable, but speak with compassion. Speak with that love, that your intention is to create more. That take that off, the whole mirror thing that's like just making you feel like, oh yeah, it's all love and light here. No, it's not fucking love and light here. This is all a lot to do with deep work, going to, you know, into the dark. We came out of the darkness, and we are so much more, you know, and I feel like, you know, how amazing our bodies is. I'm loving my body now. Took me so long to love myself. Took me years and years. I still have my little, oh my God, my fat's coming out. But you know what? That's human. Please, I need, this is what I need, is to stop yearning to go out in the spiritual, be here with the spiritual and body, and walk. We're walking each other home. That's what we're doing. We're doing this with love, with our hands to help with the bodies, our voice to sing our truth, for you to amplify our talks, and for you to give us this platform so we can do more, you know. But at the same, so I guess for me, if we actually walk and talk as our truth, yeah, we can dismantle the system. If we stop drinking, the whole world will stop drinking Coke for one day. It will crash. If we stop going to the supermarket for at least 1 week, the whole thing will crash. Because you know why? We have the power. We are the power. We just need to keep working on it. And that's the hope, is we just need to unplug and back on ourselves, and to give yourself lots of water. Make sure you drink proper water, alkaline water, lots of love to yourself, lots of forgiveness, lots of all that stuff for you, so you can keep overflowing that to your children, to the people, and just by walking past someone with your vibrancy. And I see it, you know, and at the end of the day, there's things that we're going to fuck it up. We're going to fuck it up, because that's part of it too. So I don't have the answer. You don't have the answer, but we are here to help each other.
But this is absolutely true. Nobody has all the answers. It's impossible.
No.
Nobody knows everything about everything. But collectively, we can help one another.
Yeah, I just want to give, you know, Monica a space, because sometimes I do feel uncomfortable being like, just be on the spotlight, because I believe in a space is needed to be heard and seen and everything. And this is where I'm asking Monica, if you have anything to say, please, that fire in you is there. You know, I can see that.
Thank you, dear. I just, you were just speaking the words. I'm crying now. I feel like, oh, you were just speaking the words. And I just wanted to give that example that one day I asked my guides through a very good channel. I mean, I channel too, but just sometimes, you know, for yourself, it's most difficult. Yeah. And then I asked, so what is my greatest gift? Just to confirm, because I had all these, you know, different, you know, points to move towards. And he says, well, you're very strong empath, so be careful and close yourself when you're not working, because otherwise you burn out and die. He says, but Yeah, he says, but actually the greatest your gift is being the way you are, just exactly the way you are. So when you cross someone on the street or say something, I pay a lot of compliments to people just on the street, but it's not a directed action. I just see it, I say it. And 10 years ago, I decided, fuck it. If I have an impulse to say something, to do something, I will do it. So thank you so much to you, Joydah, for your words, because you're speaking the truth.
Yes, well, I want to honor you, sister, because I can see a lot of fire in you, and there's so much vibrancy, and you hold it, and I can see that you're doing the work as well, not just for others, but you know, and then not just for you and for your daughter. And so there's a lot going on. You still need to, you know, show up, keep showing up. But, you know, you also have the time when you don't feel the best, you know, and then be okay in that space. So I keep seeing your energy through this lens. And so I just want to honor that I see you so much in the little time that I've known you. As I see it as this energy of light and fire, I guess, that forges the path and also creates the path for people. And so that's what I'm feeling right now. And I feel like that's the thing that happened. All of a sudden I felt this like woof. And I feel like that was like because you've resonated because I have I have so much fire in me. So when it happens, it just kind of went like this. And I know you felt it. And yes, I do ask my guides just for myself as well. Little things as well, like silly things, you know, like, shall I go or shall I not? And you just get like this question. And try it sometimes, James, just like if you're undecided, and just ask your guides up there. And it doesn't take long to say yes or no, because they're very clear. They're just like, yes, no. And your mind's like, oh, are you sure? Because that's your mind playing up now. But usually when they give you something, it doesn't necessarily a word or anything, something lights up. And I really resonated with you in that space. We tend to just like go in very quickly. While this is quite actually a real thing that happens. Men usually takes a little bit longer to like get the download. I don't know why, but I think it's just the make, because we're just emotionally, I guess we're just like open to like, oh yeah. Men just kind of like beep, 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 beep. Oh, got the message. So it takes, so you have to give yourself some time, I guess, or at the same time, you know, not to do something straight away after you ask something. You just got to wait a little bit. But and yeah, I just had to share that. And I don't know if whoever's listening to or got to this point of the video, did you? Yeah, you got some ideas, or maybe you can like, you know, resonate or not, you know. But ask your guides; they're always there. You're never alone. So. And I've used that tool when I was going through a lot of shit during COVID, because my whole family didn't want me. The feeling of not wanting me happened, and the guide, I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna you know, knock on the up line and say, where the hell are you guys? That's how I really strengthened my connection with them.
Yeah.
With the whole. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah,
thank you, Joydah. Thank you so much, and I love your rawness. I'm sorry, James. I'll be finished in a moment. I just love your rawness, your authenticity, and your love. It's just like yes. And if we were like you, if most of us were like you, my gosh, you know, half of these issues will be gone. Thank you, thank you.
Well, just think about this. You'll never know if you're gonna be here tomorrow, so why the fuck not live like it's your last, you know? And that's always gonna be like something that I'll always try and remember for myself every day, because we think, oh, it's just another day, but no, you're actually living right now, and you're living to see your daughter grow. You're living to see your children. You know, you're living to see these people. You know, and I think that's the greatest reminder that we don't have time. You think we have time. That's the thing. We think we have tomorrow, but we don't. We'd never know. So just be raw, authentic you, you know. At least you go, holy shit, at least I said, you know, you're beautiful to someone today, or your dress looks good, or, you know, I'm beautiful today. Things like that. And so, yeah, I wonder if I'm just like, sometimes it just comes through, whatever people need to hear, you know. So thank you. I know you need to go, and we need to wrap it up as well. Appreciate you.
Thank you, James, so much.
Just to wrap this up, so I mean, I hear what you're saying, and yeah, people need to be their authentic self, because you can see straight through it. We need to drop the ego and focus more on the kind of the inner work, because although we don't all have the answers, we're all searching for something that's better than what we have now. And yeah, I mean, I started like wanting to know the answers to things and questioning. So I started shamanic healing and shamanic work many years ago using a pendant crystal. And when you can ask yes or no, you get the answers. And sometimes the answers aren't necessarily what you want to hear, but you get the answers. And this definitely helped me, because like you, I was alone and I needed the answer. I needed some sort of support, even if the support came within. At least I knew I was on the right path of what I was going to do. So anyway, we're just going to wrap this up. So thank you. Thank you, Joydah, for being a fantastic guest. You're absolutely wonderful, a beautiful person. I'm so glad that I came across you, and that I've actually had the opportunity to hear your voice, both singing and also your story, because I mean, for the things that we're trying to achieve here are inspiring people, educating people, which you've definitely done as well, and bringing much needed hope. And just to spend an hour or so listening to you and hearing your story, I mean, you've actually achieved all of that. So you've helped me, you've helped our audience that are here today, and the wider audience once this goes out on YouTube and Spotify. So do provide me the links also that I can share so people can contact you, and the best way to contact you. And
thank you.
Yeah, and then connecting with definitely the audience that were here today. I mean, that'd be magical, because they came here because they wanted to hear your story, and I think they've been blown away with that as well. So, like I am. So, thank you for the magical work that you do. I mean, everything that you do, it's just natural. It's just what humanity is supposed to be about. It's not about like boasting that you've got all of these letters after your name. I mean, that means nothing. But what you do actually drives a purpose, and it's something that we all need and to appreciate. So thank you once again.
I really appreciate you for the space, and for also the time and energy put in this talk. I do appreciate your passion and to hold a beautiful connection like this, and connecting many others more. And for the ones that have spent their time and energy listening and being here, being present, I really appreciate you and acknowledge you. I feel very honored to be interviewed, and also I'm able to share my story. And one day my son will probably find it. And if you do, you're probably old and older than now, and you're a teenager, and you're like, oh my God, my mommy's on YouTube. But
you love it. But so what is the best way to contact you?
So email is always the best way, because you know everyone's got email these days. But so my my handle on Instagram is Joydah, Joydah, and you'll find that on Instagram if people are on Instagram, and Facebook as well. I just do Joydah Mae, and I have a website called 𝗙𝗘𝗘𝗏.com, and I can be emailed directly. You're not dealing with any managers apart from my partner messaging back sometimes because, got to do the admin stuff. So you're directly talking to us. Joydah Mae at gmail.com or Joydah Mae at Joydah Mae Music. I have both just in case the other one fills up. So yeah, really the name is Joydah, and if you search that, you'll find me on Google as well,
right.
on in DuckDuck.
Yeah,
All those.
I'll provide the links in the show notes. Just one last thing before you go. Have you got any last words or remarks or some message that you want to leave us with?
Well, that's always sort of like a little bit tricky because my mind is like, last words. Well, there's a reason why you're listening to this and you got to this point to listen to these words. So, one, you're already on your journey to your spiritual awakening, or you're doing your emotional work or intelligence. Two, you're already doing enough, and you are enough. Number three, your gift is important to this world. So I hope you'll get to share it sooner than later, and you won't take it to your grave. So yeah, those are the things that are just coming up. And number five, lost count. Yeah, just be who you are, as you are, unfiltered, and it will take a lot of peeling to peeling that layers. But at the end of the day, when you find yourself in the uncomfortable space, that's when you're growing. So trust and love yourself in that process, most especially in the times where you're about to fucking give up, and just rest. Thank
Beautiful.
you. And I love you.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much, James.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Wow, that was another featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact. If you'd like to be our next featured guest or learn how James Moffat can help you leverage on the art and power of interactive storytelling for your business, reach out and schedule a call now.